Hey there. Are you tired of still being in the day-to-day of your agency operations? You still have to run these meetings, to review all this client delivery. When you delegate some work and your team does it, it's never of the same quality, nothing's consistent, and it makes some of your clients unhappy and they don't want to keep working with you again. Well, if that's the case, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to build a solid agency system and how to structure, document, and automate a project workspace so that you can put your agency on autopilot. This is crucial if you're a founder because you'll be able to exit your operations, to get more peace of mind, to get out of that mental overload, and eventually you'll even be able to sell out your agency because your processes are strong. This video is not about teaching you how to get more leads, how to get a steady flow of clients. If you're watching this, you're supposed to be an advanced agency owners and you already have a steady flow of clients, but by setting up what I'm going to show you, you'll be able to ramp up your client delivery without hiring more people. You will see that with this system, your operations and your team's productivity is easily going to go up by 20, 30, 40%, or even more. You'll be able to scale your agency to 7 or 8 figures while maximizing your EBITDA because you won't have to hire as many people as others that don't have these strong processes. Without further ado, I'm going to show you what I mean by a solid agency system. To me, an agency system is built upon these items. First off, you have your structure here to the right. It's built upon growth, delivery, and admin. Now, I have a little diagram right here that explains what I mean by that. The way I see your agency structure, it's like a Greek temple. You have your base, your admin, which is basically the layer your agency needs to operate efficiently. You need to have a layer to manage your administration, your finances, your recruiting, your processes, and that's where it's stored. Next, we have the delivery. The delivery is what makes your agency up and running. It's the pillars of your agency, and it's built upon some solid documentation, some templates, some dependencies between your projects, and some automation. You'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later. Finally, you have growth. Growth is about what makes your agency touch the sky. It's about building up a system that will allow you to do some inbound, outbound marketing effectively and to track your leads and how they're turned into clients. In this step, I'm going to show you how to build a marketing system and a CRM. So let's start off by the growth area actually. We have a sales area and a marketing area. Marketing is where you're going to acquire some leads. You're going to have to do some inbound and some outbound marketing. That will consist in social media, blogging, ads, etc. That's all of your lead acquisition. Then there's the sales space. Once these leads enter your sales pipeline, you have to manage them, you have to follow up on them, you have to make sure you turn them into clients. That's how the sales pipeline comes in. So that's your CRM, that's where you're going to manage your projects, your accounts, your contacts, and I'll show you that right after. Next, we have deliveries. Delivery is about how to make sure once these leads are converted into clients and the project start, that the project ramp up as efficiently as possible and that you can work in your day-to-day as fast as possible. As a manager, have a clear view on what your team does. I organize this into 2 folders, one for the ongoing projects and one for the closed projects, because it's good to have a reference of what you did in the past, but it's good to keep your ongoing projects in the same area because that's what you're working currently. You want a quick access to this. Next, we'll move on to the admin part. When it comes to admin, I'm just going to show you 2 examples, but it really depends on what you have to admin. Based on your operations, you might want to add some more stuff. But here I'm going to show you how to build a finance area where you're going to manage your to-do list for finances and recurring tasks and make sure you don't miss on anything on these operations. And next, I'm going to show you how to have an HR space, a space where you can manage your HR to do your day-to-day, but also your hiring process. These were the 3 pillars of an agency structure: growth, delivery, and admin. But next, what's interesting is how to make sure that we have solid processes to handle all of those parts smoothly. Processes are built upon 3 items in a solid project software. You have to have a solid documentation for your processes, and you're going to store this in a company wiki, in a team wiki that will allow your team to know exactly what to do. You will not have to explain every new hire how to work in your company. There'll be steps to go through, and they will probably ramp up very easily on understanding your processes and your goals. Next, we have templates. I'm going to show you some examples of client sales templates, project templates, but obviously you can create as many templates, as many items that you can reuse as possible in a project software. And you have to make sure that for HR, for finances, for marketing, you have templates that you can reuse in the future as well. And finally, automations. So I'll show you how in the project software, you can create some automations so that status are reassigned to you for review, for example, or you can add tasks to a different list for service providers. And I'll also show you a little surprise in the end. Stay till the end because I'll show you a methodology that will speed up your productivity as a team. Finally, we have dashboards. For dashboards, we have a sales dashboard and a best practices dashboard that I'll show you. That's just an example of what you can do in a solid project software. Now, once that's said, one of the only software that can actually support such an advanced and such an automated system is ClickUp. It's one of the few software that has all the features that we need to build an agency system like this one. So ClickUp is basically a project management software that's been built by a team in California. It's becoming one of the best project software you can have on the market. It allows you to do task management, documentation, automations, and bring all of those together to create systems that allow you to speed up your agency delivery and exit your operations because everything has been built upon in the past. Now I'm going to show you what everything I've been talking about looks in ClickUp. So let's move on to ClickUp and show you how these growth, delivery, admin, and spaces are built on, and how I automated everything and created templates to run operations smoothly. So we're moving to ClickUp, and here, as you can see, you have a structure that matches what I've told you. Now in marketing, we have a folder for our content, and we have blogging articles, newsletters, social media. You can make your tasks recurring if you wanted to. So if you have a recurring newsletter, ClickUp will remind you and create a new task each time there's a newsletter to do. You can also store standard operating processes in your newsletters. That way, each time some of your copywriter writes the newsletter, they have to follow these exact steps and you're not missing on anything. You could potentially add a video on how to publish the newsletter and make it as optimized as possible. Now, that's our first list. We have the blogging list. In the blogging list, we have some SOPs as well. People can write the blog article in the description of the task or link it to a ClickUp document. You can also add subtasks, for example, on each step on how to write and publish a blog article. And then finally, we have social media. And there you can also write your social media content. We have custom fields, as you can see, so you can pinpoint which platform you will post on. And what I love about this folder is that because it's a content folder, maybe you want to see that as a calendar view, and ClickUp lets you do that. So you can have a calendar of all your content and reschedule it very easily. That way, anyone that posts your content knows exactly how everything has to be posted and when it has to be posted. Another feature you can set up is repurposing. So say you have a blog article and you want to turn it into social media content, you can add a tag called socials right here. And for example, this case study will pop up right here in the social media list. And same way, if you were to want to repurpose 10 ways to do web design, it's a social media post. You can repurpose it into a newsletter, for example, by just adding the newsletter tag, and it will pop up right here as well. With these automations, you can repurpose your content, and we can even plug that into an AI, into ChatGPT, for example, so that it repurposes automatically before it duplicates the task and then adds the content of the task written as if it was a newsletter instead of a blog article. So you can literally leverage ClickUp automations and AI to repurpose automatically your content and build a marketing system. So that's one way to do it. Then we have ads. For ads, very simple. I have some campaign sales funnels, Google sales funnels, and I can create some SOPs as well right here, create some subtasks. So as you can see, it's a very simple task management principle. Potentially, you could add calendar view if you were to publish your campaigns at different dates. So it really depends on how your workflow is. Next, we have the sales area, and I've only created deals and accounts, but basically ClickUp can be a lightweight CRM because, for example, we have our deals right here. We have custom fields for deal value, for the account linked, for the email of our contact, the contact name, and we can link our account to the accounts list. If we go into the accounts list right here, we have all our clients popping up right here. So we can link deals and clients, and we can create custom fields and group our clients by tier or by any type of information. We can add their addresses. We can add a wrap up of all the total deals we signed with them. So ClickUp really can work as a lightweight CRM. And one last CRM feature I want to show you is that you actually can open up a task and send emails from the task. As you can see, I've done it here. And you can also have a script, for example, a sales script that you run through each time you start working with a prospect. And that way your sales team will know exactly what to ask. What I love is that all of these data that you just saw in our CRM can be pulled in a sales dashboard that we just created with our won deals, our ongoing deals, the lost deals amount, the average deal size, our cycle time, which is the time between the deal is open and the deal is closed. We can see the list of our hot leads, our ongoing projects, and a dashboard like this can help you have a really clear vision on your sales pipeline. Obviously, these graphs will move over time and you can track your KPIs, your sales KPIs right in ClickUp. Moving on to the core of our processes and our business. So that's where we have the delivery, the client delivery. The way I structure client delivery is that I have a folder for ongoing clients, and that way we can see what we have to do for each client. I always try to keep it simple. We have one list per client in ClickUp, and we can track the client progress, the overall status. We can add start and end dates on each of these projects, priorities, etc. That overview lets us see overall what we have to do for this client. Now, if we open up each client projects, as you can see, there's a bunch of tasks to do, campaigns, etc. So I won't go into detail, but you can obviously create as many tasks as you want. And then we have our closed clients. So same principle, we can store and move our closed clients right there to have a clear view of what we're currently working on and what have we been working on in the past. So one last thing I'm going to show you, which is much more powerful than creating all those tasks manually, is that we can automate this through templates. So I've created a template for my client delivery right here. And as you can see, we have different tasks that we do. These are products that we sell. We sell SEO, web design, design mockups, client branding, etc. But sometimes you work for a client and you don't sell the whole package. You sell 2 or 3 products. So that's why we productized each of these agency products, like how to do the SEO, how to do the analytics. We've added processes, steps inside those tasks. And basically, each time a project starts, you're going to just create a list with that client and say, okay, we're working with client alpha. And for client alpha, we're doing a standard web agency project first. So we're going to call it web project client alpha. I've just created this task, and behind the scenes, there's an automation running in ClickUp that will create the onboarding and the offboarding of that project. So as you can see, some stuff has happened right here, and you have subtasks that have been created for the onboarding and the offboarding. And if we open up that task, we have a bunch of subtasks into these milestones. We have to send the onboarding email, collect the client info. If we open up those, we even have what to collect. So everything has been templatized for the future use, and you can always refresh and update those templates. And say we have done the discovery call with the client and we're selling them 2 products. We're selling them SEO and we're selling them website redesign. So I'm just going to add 2 tags, one for SEO and one for website. And you're going to see in a few seconds, ClickUp is going to create the whole project roadmap just in a blink. So if I open up this task, some tasks are popping up right here, SEO and web design. And if I were to open up that task, we have SEO tasks that have been created. We have web design tasks that have been created. And as you can see, there's a little triangle right here. So this is a ClickUp dependency. And what this does is that it allows you to automatically reschedule your whole project without having to change each task one by one. And that's one of the most powerful ClickUp features. That's what makes it stand out from other softwares, in my opinion. Because very often you're going to be in front of a client and they're going to tell you, oh, sorry, we have to delay the project by 1 month, 2 months, and you don't want to reschedule everything you've just prepared. So we're just going to go into a view right here and create a Gantt view. And in that Gantt view, we're going to reschedule our dependencies. I've turned on a feature called reschedule dependencies in ClickUp, and we have our tasks right there. My project is all linked together. We have our main project, we have our task. We're going to link it to the next steps, to the web design, and say to the SEO, because we will do the SEO after the web design, and the SEO will be linked to the offboarding. And that should be fine. So I'll make sure that my project runs smoothly. I'll just change a few things, reschedule the way I want, etc. And what you're going to see is that if I were to say, open up that client onboarding, there's a bunch of subtasks right here. So if my client tells me, okay, we have to move the project, the whole project, by a month, I can do so. I can just move this. And everything below, all the subtasks will move. But if we've started in the onboarding and we're actually, let's say we're done with it, it's going to complete all the subtasks that are below. Our onboarding is done, but then the web design has to move by another month because our client doesn't have all the assets, or we don't have enough stuff from the graphic designer that they're working with, whatever. So we're just going to move this by another month, for example, and the whole project is going to be moved. That's one way to do it. But if you want to move the whole project with these subtasks, you can also do so by just extending and expanding the project. As you can see, everything moves dynamically, and that's the power of ClickUp. ClickUp is a software that lets you create these automations, it lets you create these templates, and it lets you reschedule dependencies. So it makes it very, very, very powerful. Now you might ask yourself, all right, I have my project roadmap, it's amazing, and I can reschedule it automatically, but how do I make sure that it's delegated properly and that nobody asks me questions about how to process each task? Well, that's the power of SOPs. Processes will let you make sure that you delegate the best way possible. And my favorite way to create processes in ClickUp is to have a process library. So I've just created a space right here where we have sales processes, marketing processes, operations, etc. We can even have some more complex processes like processes specific to web design, to social media, to editing, to SMMA. And we can have an SOP library that's more standard. So depending on how complex your company is, how your agency is big, and also the user rights that you want to give to these lists, you can store your processes in one single list or in different folders based on your teams. This is a process library. It contains tasks as well, but all of these tasks will have steps inside on how to conduct each process. So how to do a client sitemap design. And you have the different tasks, and eventually you could also add a video. I love adding videos to my processes, and you can even create your video with a software like Loom, copy the transcript, paste it into ChatGPT with a specific prompt, and it will generate a standard operating procedure that you can reuse in the future. So this is a created process, sitemap design. Now let's get back to our client project. So if we have to do sitemap design in the web design area, all I have to do is call out this process in my template, and that way in the comment section, you can quick access to the sitemap design process. And the person that will do the sitemap design with the client knows exactly how to do it because everything has been processized. Everything is stored in ClickUp. And what I love is that you can get to this process and see the links, and you can see in which tasks of which project this SOP is being used. That way you'll be able to quick access all of those projects and just have a look. How has this been moving? Ask questions, collaborate, because all of this supposes that your agency works together and collaborates smoothly in ClickUp. Now, that's it for delivery. I'm just going to wrap things up with a few last demos. What could a hiring pipeline look like? So here, a little bit of the same principle as the CRM. We have a list for candidates and a list for positions. And we actually have a link between our candidates right here and our positions that are stored in our positions list. So all of these positions are to fill and they have different statuses, and you can actually have a look at these candidates and connect them to the positions, and you can see which department they're applying to, and you can have a recruiting pipeline as well. You can make it more complex if you wanted to with a Kanban view. This one's hired, for example, and you can add it here. You can assign it to someone that will interview the person. You can add a deadline. Everything can be managed. And the same way you can create a lightweight CRM, you can create a lightweight hiring system in ClickUp. So this is an example. Another example is to have a normal day-to-day to-do task and to have recurring tasks in there so that you know exactly that every year you have to do yearly seminar preparation and you have the SOP for the yearly seminar. So as you can see, different ways to store SOPs. You can either store them in the description, in the comments, or in the library. My favorite way is to store them in a task library. That way they're better organized. You can call them out in the tasks, and each time you update that SOP, it will be reflected to each task because it will be updated just through a link. So other stuff you have to do for your agency is to have a documentation, for example. So you can create a standard knowledge base for your agency with different parts, a welcome package, an onboarding package, our code of conduct, what's our brand assets, what's new in the agency, marketing processes, or any type of processes. Again, I told you can store them in tasks, but if you don't have any access restrictions, you could also store them in documents and call out the document in the task. We have a template library that you can store right here, some ClickUp setup SOPs, because obviously all your team will have to understand how to use ClickUp, and there are SOPs right there. For example, there's a video of how to use the ClickUp inbox, and there's a description that explains exactly everything you have to go through when you use your ClickUp inbox. So all of this comes in an agency wiki, and you should create a standard wiki so that when everyone comes, they spend a day or two reading that wiki, and every single piece of information to understand how your agency works is stored there. Now, finally, one last step, I got into dashboards, and I've created a best practices dashboard right here. And a dashboard like this one allows you to know if ClickUp is being used properly by your team. So if your team is assigning tasks, estimating them, they have a due date, they're overdue, it's not going very well right here because it's increasing. The statuses over time, how it's moving, do we have a lot more open tasks than we're closing tasks, for example? That way you can assess your velocity. You can see the tasks, how they're balanced by assignee, if it's properly balanced, or if someone is handling too many tasks, or if there are some assigned tasks. You can see who's not actually reading their notifications or has tasks overdue. And you can also see who's using ClickUp the most, who is closing tasks, resolving comments, etc. And it gives you a ranking by points that you can rank everyone who's the best ClickUp user. So, for example, you have these people right here. So a best practice dashboard like this one also allows you as a founder to have a look, to have an overview of whether or not the system you've just put in place is being used. Now, obviously, this is a very advanced system. It takes time to build up because behind the scenes, there's a lot of automations to create, a lot of processes to create, but I'm here to save you some time and also to bring you some best practices. So if you're interested, you can just book a discovery call with me and we'll strategize about how to build a system like this one for your agency. I'll show you during a 5 weeks program how to build the ultimate agency system and how you as a founder can exit your operations. So thanks for watching this video. If you're interested, just book a discovery call below and I'll see you soon.